Good afternoon and welcome everybody, and thank you for attending today's webinar. So we have a few people online today. We have actually 19 people online, which is brilliant. I think that's actually could be our record. No, I think we might have had 20 before, so we can get a couple more today. Okay, in today's webinar, we'll be going through marketing and student rights. So what is the information that you need to provide to students prior to course commencement to ensure that they're making an informed decision prior to commencing with your organisation. We'll also be looking at marketing, and we've actually got a couple of volunteers. So we've got 2 people who volunteered their websites, so we'll be checking those out today. And what they may not have known, we're also going to be looking at their social media. So I'll be having a look at a couple of Facebook pages well. So as per usual, this webinar forms part of your continuous improvement process under Standard 2.2. So following this webinar, you should hold your monthly quality and compliance meeting and include limits that you attended. And what you should include is what did you learn, what practices do you need to change, and you need to review, and then update any of those. And if there's any opportunities for improvement that you may need to complete as well. You should also review the policies and procedures within your Q&C manual for any updates as well. Now, I've got some exciting news. We're working on a new version of the Q&C manual. So I have a new version that we're currently working on, and it's going to be in the new audit process. So I'm working on this at the moment. We should have it released within the next month, I would say. But we've reworked the whole manual so it's in line with the student-centred process. So I'll be having a look at that following this as well. So as per your policies and procedures, you should review these, what we're looking at today. So I would also recommend that you do a review of your own website and ensure that your website is compliant with the requirements for marketing and ensuring that your students are able to make an informed decision. We'll be going through some of the common mistakes that people make on their websites today as well. So there's going to be a bit of me looking around, checking out some websites, checking out some Facebook pages as well. Okay, move along. All right, so as I discussed, there's a student-centred audit process that ASQA are now following. So this has been since the start of the year, and there is a new user guide that came out. So I'll just show you the user guide. So this is the user guide that you can get access to on at the ASQA website, and that's what we base our policies and procedures on, on this user guide. So in the guide is this new student-centred process, and that's how we're reorganising the whole quality and compliance manual so it's in line with this. For those of you who are also CRICOS providers as well as RTO, you'll note that these standards, the way that they've moved the standards around, so you'll see here there's the key phases of the student, which we've got marketing and recruitment, enrolment, support and progression, training and assessment and completion. Down on the right-hand side is the primary standards and clauses that relate to these new phases that they've got into place. So today we'll be looking at marketing and recruitment, which is under Chapter 1, but it's also Standard 4.1. We'll have a little look at 2.3 and 2.4, but not really. Bigger focus will be on 5.1 and 5.2. But it's that the RTO's marketing practices provide accurate factual information to allow prospective students to make an informed decision prior to course commencement. So that's where we'll be focusing on today. But a lot of our PowerPoints now we're going to be changing to this model in line with what will be actually changing in our Q&C manual as well. And as I stated earlier, if you are a CRICOS provider, you'll note that the CRICOS standards are actually in line with these. So they actually marry up really well together, whereby you now got your CRICOS standards, which starts at Standard 1, which is marketing, which is the same as what we've got in Chapter 1, which is 4.1 for the standards in marketing. So they're now aligning up much better, which is brilliant. We've also anticipated that there's going to be a change in legislation, which I've been keeping an eye out. I have heard rumours that there will be changes, but I haven't seen any evidence of it as yet. I'm anticipating it was going to be before the end of this year, but that seems to not going to be happening at the moment, so hopefully it will be next year when that will be happening. But what we're anticipating with the new standards is there's quite a few standards that aren't being audited at the moment, so what I'm forecasting is those standards are going to be removed from the new standards, and the standards will be in this order. But because we've had a change of government, who knows what's going to happen, because with the change of government comes a whole heap of other changes that has a flow-on effect with every department, but in particular the education department. We now have a new education minister who's also in charge of small business. So we'll be interested, so that's Michaela who's doing that, and she's got a few changes that she will be bringing in. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen when we filter that down from the top. Okay, so that's a bit of an update about the student-centred process. So today we're looking at Standard 4, which is looking at marketing, and it's ensuring that you provide information that is accurate to your learners about the services that you provide and the qualifications, and that you're clear and transparent with all of your fees and everything that's included within your training that you will be delivering. Under Standard 5, we'll also be looking at each learner is properly informed and protected, and it will be looking at, well, what is it that you need to ensure that's in your not only your marketing material, but it's also in your student handbook and anything else that you're providing to the student prior to course commencement. So it's ensuring that they're properly informed and protected. We'll be also looking at the enrolment form today, because we've got quite a bit of information on the enrolment form around informing and protecting the student. So the marketing standard is quite involved. There's only one standard under Standard 4, so it's one clause, which is 4.1. But it's very much, how are you ensuring that the materials that or the marketing materials that you're using, majority of people would be using websites and social media marketing. You don't necessarily have to have print or anything in print for your marketing. But if you do have, we do recommend that you have course information on your website that's easily downloadable. So as it could be as a PDF, so that they're able to download that PDF and look at that documentation. Because people still like to print documents, even though you've got a website. They'll print the page if they're not able to actually get a document. So you want it to look nice and easy, very professional, and you want it to be ensure that you've got everything in there that will inform the student prior to course commencement. Okay, so this is the standard for marketing. So what does that mean? So it means prior to enrolment, students must be provided with relevant information that informs them about the training and assessment and support services. It must be clear on your marketing what the students' rights are and their responsibilities. And we do that through a range of documentation that you get included as part of your membership package. And they include course flyers that we have templates for. We have the enrolment agreement form. We'll also look at your website. So we have a marketing checklist that you can have a look at for your website. The student handbook, organisational profile, and you may hold information sessions for those longer courses where students can come into an information session and learn more about how you're going to deliver your training. So your marketing material should have a process where the CEO is approving it. So this is what our policy and procedure says, is that all marketing is approved by your CEO prior to distribution. This includes anybody working under third-party arrangements. So if you have another training organisation who is delivering training and assessment under your scope of registration, the CEO or an authorised officer within the organisation should be responsible material for signing off on any marketing before it hits any social media or it goes onto any website, or if you have any hard copy flyers or marketing that goes out, so that you're ensuring that you're managing those third parties and that they aren't marketing information that is not true and incorrect. The biggest risk with marketing when you have third parties is that they could market something that is not in line with the legislative requirements, or it's not in line with training products that are actually on your scope of registration, or your training and assessment strategies, so how you plan to deliver and assess your training. All your marketing information should come from your training and assessment strategy. This is something I just thought I'd better note. A lot of people just jump in and change their marketing, but they don't actually consider the fact that they need to change their training and assessment strategies and the delivery and assessment plans. You need to make sure that you're looking at that as well as changing your marketing. So you should do that first. If you're going to be changing your delivery mode or your assessment mode, or how long the course is going to go for, that includes how many hours or how many days or what days per week, you need to ensure that your training and assessment strategy is updated first before you then go and update your marketing material. So as a minimum, students should be provided with information that includes the total fees for all the course fees. That includes administration fees, material fees. So if you are going to be charging for additional fees for materials, you need to make sure that's clear and transparent on your marketing material. So sometimes we'll have clients who will have their course fees and then they'll expect the students their training and assessment material separate. You need to ensure that your marketing material is clear and transparent of how much that's going to be, or an estimated cost. It may also be a requirement for your training where you may not deliver the first aid component, for example. Might be one unit that you do not deliver, but you expect the student to come in with that already completed before they come along and do your course. So you need to make sure it's clear and transparent on your marketing material what is the student required to have prior to course commencement. So that means, if that means they've got to hold a first aid certificate, well, what do they need to provide as evidence to demonstrate that they've already completed first aid? If they've got to undertake a police record check, are you going to help them do that, or are they going to do that by themselves? So that needs to be clear and transparent on your marketing. If you require your students to, you're going to do a credit transfer. So it might be that you have direct equivalent units that you're expecting the student to have. We have this often where it might be that the student's completed a certificate 3 and now they're going diploma level, and they can have a direct credit transfer of the units. For example, early childhood education and care, you might go from a certificate 3 into a diploma, and your strategy is that in order for them to enter into the diploma course, they must hold the certificate 3 first, and they must hold these units. How are you going to ensure that your students do have that required transcript, and how are you going to tick off on that? And you need to ensure that the student is informed on your marketing that they'll be required to provide a transcript of those units that they've completed. So anywhere where you have any entry requirements for a student, that must be clear and transparent on your marketing materials as well. So that might be an age requirement, a licensing requirement. You might be doing credit transfer. It might be that they've got to have a first aid certificate. It might be that they've got to do a police record check. That's all going to be clear and transparent all on your marketing. You also need to make sure it's clear on your marketing what are your payment terms. So any deposits that are required to be paid, if you have any administration fees, if you have any non-refundable fees, so it might be an admin fee that you have in place. We generally do about $150 administration fee, depends on how long the course is and how much work is involved with enrolling that student. But we recommend that you have a non-refundable administration fee of about $150. You can do more than that or less than that. It's up to you. It just needs to be clear and transparent on your marketing what that administration fee is going to be. And by all means, you can definitely have a non-refundable admin fee for processing enrolments for people who may withdraw from a course. You need to ensure that there's a guarantee, so the nature of the guarantee given by the RTO to complete the training and or assessment once the student has commenced study in their chosen qualification or course. We have this on the back of your enrolment form. I've often gone back into clients to do assistance check following they've done registration with us or they've had membership, and I've gone back to do an audit later on down the track, a year or two down the track, and I've seen that people have changed the enrolment form to customise it to their needs. But what I've often found is they've removed the terms and conditions off the enrolment form, which can cause issues because in our policies and procedures manual, it actually says that there are terms and conditions on the enrolment form. So if you remove it from the enrolment form, then you need to remove it from the policies and procedures manual as well. So you need to be careful what you remove. What I generally recommend is don't remove anything. You can change the format of the documentation, add things to it, but don't remove anything, because as soon as you start removing things from any of the documentation that we provide you as part of your membership, what happens is it's going to have a run-on effect with other policies and procedures and other documentation. So one thing I definitely have a look at your enrolment form. So I'm going to have a look at ours today so that you can just check that you've still got the same enrolment form template. And that's one of the things is a guarantee. We have a training guarantee on there. Need to be, I've already gone through additional fees. Also, if there's any certificate reissue fees, so we have a standard $80 fee for certificate reissues. You can charge more or less, it's up to you. The plan was that through usi.gov.au, if you wanted to get a transcript reissue, it was going to cost you $80. So that's why we just kept it in line with the same fee that the student would pay if they were going onto USI to get a reprint of their transcript. Now, they'd preferably want the certificate from the RTO and not from usi.gov.au because it's not the same. It's basically a standard document that they get of a transcript, and it's not necessarily a certificate. So you want to make sure it's clear and transparent. What are your fees for a certificate reissue? And this includes if a student is deemed not yet competent and there's a reassessment, how much will you be charging for the reassessment of that student, and what is your process for reassessment? And it should be also clear and transparent what the organisation's refund policy is. So we have a process in the Policies and Procedures Manual with regards to approval of your marketing. So all marketing conducted by the RTO will be undertaken with integrity and accuracy to provide clients with sufficient information to make an informed decision. So in our policies and procedures, we include that all the marketing material is submitted to the CEO and that the CEO signs off on it. Now, if your process is different, you do not have a process where your marketing is approved by the CEO, you need to change that in your Q&C manual so that it actually addresses who is responsible for signing off on marketing. In the end, the CEO is responsible according to the standards, so it doesn't matter who's signing it off, it will be the CEO that is responsible for all marketing and all compliance with the standards for RTOs. So if you have any non-compliances, and that includes with marketing, the CEO will be responsible, which is the reason why we've put into the manual that the CEO is responsible for signing off on all marketing. So all advertising marketing must include the contact details of the CEO and or the person qualified and experienced in the AQF qualification being promoted, a copy of the authorised marketing and advertising material together with any approvals are to be kept on file by the CEO. So that could be on file on your server. So it could be a system that you have in place where all marketing's approved and you have an approval system in there. A copy of the authorised marketing and advertising material, I've done that one. The printing and publishing of marketing and advertising material can only be authorised by the CEO or whoever you've nominated as the authorised personnel. So I've taken this from the Q&C manual. So if this is not what happens within your organisation, you have a different person who is authorised to sign off on marketing, you'll need to update your Q&C manual. Okay. I'll just get my mouse to come back. All right. So marketing must not guarantee that the learner will successfully complete a training product. So you can't guarantee that a student is going to complete any training. And the reason why you can't guarantee is because the student may not be competent. So you can't guarantee in your marketing that you will get this certificate at the end. You can say if you are eligible and you have met the competency requirements for the units of competencies being delivered, then yes, then you can, they will receive a certificate, but you can't guarantee that they'll be successful in completing any training product. That they can complete any training product in a manner not compliant with clauses 1.1 and 1.2, which is your training and assessment strategy. So whatever you've put in your training and assessment strategy, your students must meet those requirements, and that includes entry requirements. So if you've got an age entry requirement, or if you've got that they must hold another qualification, or they need to have 3 years industry experience prior to entry into this course, you need to ensure that you've collected evidence of that, and that you keep that evidence on the student's file, and you take that into consideration when you're signing off a student. The other one is will obtain a particular employment outcome. You can't guarantee any employment outcomes because this is not in the control of the RTO. You need to make sure, and the thing is, you still don't know whether they're going to be competent or not because you haven't actually deemed them competent. So we're talking about marketing material here prior to course commencement. Can't guarantee any employment outcome because they may not be competent once they've completed the training. So you need to be very careful with ensuring that you aren't making any guarantees that is outside of your control. So, for example, that they are deemed competent, that they're able to complete the work, that they will get a job outcome. So I would not be guaranteeing any work outcomes, and it's a requirement of standards as well that you cannot guarantee any employment outcomes. Okay, so we've got a course flyer template that we use, and everyone can access that course flyer template under the TAS documents. In your course flyer, and this is including in a range of your marketing materials, you need to include your RTO details, the training product code and title, or unit code and title of the units that you are delivering, the location of all training, including practical and theory. So if you have more than one location that the student can complete training, so there might be a theory component and a practical component, you need to have all sites identified on your marketing material. So it needs to be clear and transparent, every site that the student must attend in order to complete the training. So if you have one site where you're delivering your theory and the student's required to, for example, it might be commercial cookery that they're completing. So they're doing theory in one location and then they're going to another location to complete the practical component of the training. You need to make sure that's clear and transparent on your marketing where those locations will be. It needs to be also clear the duration of the training, what will be your start and finish times, what will be the dates, and what will be everything that's required in order for the student to attend that training. Now, I've just had a question thrown out of me. What about workplace addresses? So if you're doing, if you're an enterprise-based RTO, it can be the locations of where you're going to deliver the training there. So it's clear and transparent to your staff, and it might be training rooms and things like that. If you're doing work placement, you need to make it sure it's clear on your marketing material who is responsible for finding work placement. It is a requirement, we get this a lot for initial registration in particular, that you should have memorandums of understanding, so agreements in place with work placements prior to your students going out to work placement. So you should have an agreement in place with them, and then you should have it also in your marketing material where those work placements are going to be. I've got another question. Do we need to have registered with ASQA where those locations are? Yes. For example, we have booked a proper function room, not our boardroom, for our next training session at the Sydney Masonic Centre. So you only need to notify ASQA of permanent delivery sites. So whatever is a permanent delivery site where you'll be delivering training permanently. So you have a lease agreement or room hire, a permanent room hire agreement where you're delivering regular training on a regular basis. If you are hiring training rooms on an ad hoc basis, which sometimes you can do, for example, first aid, you might deliver on the premises of a client's premises. So you don't need to notify ASQA of all of those sites. So it's all permanent delivery sites. And of course, your head office, you need to notify ASQA. Very good question, Anne-Marie. So a lot of people get confused with that on because you could just imagine all your temporary delivery sites, if you're notifying ASQA of that, how that could be. You could end up with a lot of delivery sites on there. But if you're having anywhere where you're regularly delivering training and you have a room hire agreement or a lease in place, then yes, definitely you should notify ASQA of those permanent delivery sites. But once again, Anne-Marie, on your marketing material, you would need to ensure that you have that function room listed on your marketing material as your site. And it's also, you've got to remember, it's prior to course commencement. So it can be an email confirmation. And in that email confirmation, it has all the address details and location of the training as well. Now, prior to, there's two differences between that. We've got prior to enrolment, which prior to enrolment is before they pay any fees. Prior to course commencement is prior to commencing any training. So I'll just clarify there, with your marketing material, this is prior to making any payment. So you do need to make it clear what are your delivery sites in your marketing prior to course commencement, not course commencement, so prior to paying any payments to the RTO. You need to also ensure that it's clear on your marketing material what skills and knowledge is required of the students. So these are your entry requirements. This may also include entry requirements in order to complete the training. So it may be that they need to be fit and enabled to lift themselves, get themselves up and down off the floor for first aid training, for example. I know childcare training is the same, that they must be fit and able to be able to get up and down off the floor. Because you think about the environment of where they're going to be working, they're going to be need to be able to get down, up and down off the floor. So anywhere where there's a first aid unit included with the qualification, you're going to need to be fit and able to get yourself up and down off the floor in order to conduct CPR just as a start. So you need to make sure that's clear on your marketing. Now, all of this you should get from your training and assessment strategy. So this includes the skills and knowledge required of the students prior to course commencement, your modes of delivery, and the assessment requirements as well. You should also have a breakdown of all the units. If you have a full qualification that you are marketing, you should include in that full qualification each individual unit of competency that you will be offering, and fees including course fees, administration fees, material fees, and any other fees. You should also include your payment terms, including timing and the amount of fees and when they will be paid, and any reassessment fees, as I discussed earlier. And the course flyer complies with the policies and procedures under the advertising and marketing. Okay, so I'm just going to now bring up, sorry, I'm going to bring up some, we've got a marketing checklist that we have included on our on Unicorn. So when you go on to Unicorn, you can actually access this marketing checklist. Sorry, I'm trying to get in there and it's not letting me in. Because I just thought then I might pull up the TAS just so you can see on our TAS template what are the marketing materials. So we've actually, in the recent update, or earlier this year, we updated the TAS so that it includes what should be included on your marketing. So I'm just going to open this up now, and I'm going to share this screen. You'll see this soon. And so I'm going to share my desktop with you now. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of documents right now. So I'm going to first of all show you the training and assessment strategy template. Now on the training and assessment strategy template, you'll note in there that we've got all these instructions on the right hand side. So you'll see there's all sorts of instructions there if you are going to be writing your own TAS. You see all these blue highlighted areas or blue-grey highlighted areas. You see here where it's got marketing. Everything in the blue-grey areas with this marketing comment here, that has to be included in your marketing material. So that includes anything that you're going to be providing to the student prior to them making a decision about enrolling into one of your courses. So you'll see on here that there's not much up there. We have all of the units. You should have them on your marketing material, any licensing requirements, any existing skills and knowledge that the student is required to have. What is your selection criteria? So you see I've got here, due to the physical requirements of this unit, the student must have the ability to perform CPR on a mannequin. So that's just an example of being physically fit. We'll go down a little bit further and you'll see, I'll get to a blue section. I think it's where we've got delivery training. Here we go. So the delivery structure. So you'll see here we've got a blue-grey area. So your mode of delivery, including what are all your fees, what are your course fees. So you need to ensure that that's all on there as well. This document, Anne-Marie's just asked me, am I able to send them a copy of this? This is available on Unicorn. So you need to log into Unicorn and you'll see it's called TAS. TAS, qual code, RTO name. So all your TAS templates will be available there. So you'll be able to access the TAS template. If you are on bronze membership, that's PD membership only. So bronze membership will not get access to this document. This is only available for silver, gold, ruby, diamond or platinum membership, where you have the documents included with your membership. So I just thought I'd better clarify that because I'm not sure what all your memberships are. So course fees, you'll also find all your course fees are in this template as well, and your delivery structure. And if you have a work placement component, if you don't have, you just delete this row. But if you have a work placement component, you would include the work placement in your marketing material as well, and your assessment methods. So you'll see everything here in the blue-grey highlight must be also on your marketing material, and that should be it there. So that was just a quick snapshot of the TAS and how we include marketing on there. Now, another document that we have that you can use for checking your marketing. This is a marketing advertising checklist. So you can use this checklist to look at your website, your flyers, your student handbook, org profile. We should include on here social media as well, because that's another big area as well. So this is a checklist you can use to do like a mini audit of your marketing. Or if you're going to do any new marketing, you check this checklist first. Or if you're doing a new website, you can give this to your website developer, or you get someone to review the website to make sure that it meets these requirements. So this checklist is basically the information that's within the standards, and it actually says that, you know, what information should be on your website, and you could just put a yes, no, and any comments to go next to that. So it goes for a couple of pages, but it's the best way to review any marketing material. And if you have any third parties who are doing marketing as well, you can use this checklist for checking your third party marketing before it actually goes is distributed. Okay, so that's marketing. All right, now I'm going to go to the course flyer. So this is our course flyer template. So once again, you can access this from Unicorn. So this is a course flyer template. Once again, as I stated earlier, you can change anything on this course flyer template, but no content. So you can change the design, You can change, you can delete things that are not applicable, but you must always include the location, delivery, the duration of your training, how long ago, and all this information is going to come from your TAS. So everything on your course flyer should come from your TAS. Your administration, payment plans that you may have in place, any additional fees that you may have, your work placement requirements should be included in here, mode of assessment and resources provided. We have this standard criteria here with, but you should add any other selection criteria. The course description you can get from the training package on training.gov.au, or you can write your own if you'd like, but we just use the one on training.gov.au because it's pretty sufficient, the information that's on training TGA. You include all the units in here. And then all of this here relates back to your policies and procedures. So you shouldn't delete that because that includes what your rights are as an RTO, and that the student should refer to the enrolment form for further information on refunds, policies and procedures, fees paid in advance, RPL, credit transfer, all that sort of information. Now, just a quick note while we're on this course flyer. So here should be the code and title of the individual unit that you may be offering, or the full qualification, or the skill set that you're going to be offering. If you are not delivering a full qualification and you are delivering a single unit or a cluster of units that is not part of a certified full qualification, you need to remove this AQF logo. The AQF logo can only be used if you are delivering full qualifications, not part qualifications. So you see here, remove AQF logo for single units or skill sets. So you can use the NRT logo for both full quals and single units, but you cannot use it for, you can't use the AQF logo for single units or skill sets. So I often see this as a non-compliance when I'm auditing RTOs. They've got the AQF logo on single units or clusters of units that they're offering. It's not actually a full qualification. So you can only use the AQF logo with full qualifications. So you need to be really careful with that. All right, I think. And lastly, but not least, is the enrolment agreement form. So this is the enrolment agreement form that can also be accessed from Unicorn. So in here you can see that we've got all the EVETMIS data. So all these numbers here are EVETMIS data that you are collecting. So the student completes this and you're also collecting the EVETMIS data. All of this is EVETMIS data, or this section down here is all EVETMIS data. So it is a requirement that you must collect EVETMIS data from every single enrolment, from every student that comes into your organisation, and you need to collect this and then report it into your EVETMIS compliant database. So this needs to go into your database. On the back here is the terms and conditions of enrolment. And this is where you've got to be really careful that you don't remove these terms and conditions of enrolment, because it's very clear on here what are your rights and responsibilities as the RTO and what is the student's rights and responsibilities as a student. So that where I was talking about, we've got cooling off period in here. We've also got a consumer guarantee, which is like a training guarantee. So you've got a consumer guarantee that you'll can deliver all your services as advertised in your marketing material, and that you'll provide it with due care and skill, and that it's fit for purpose for the training that you do. Okay, so you also have your complaints and appeals on there, credit transfer, language literacy and numeracy is also on there, legislative and regulatory requirements in there as well. Okay. So that is your enrolment agreement form there. And here we also have a section where the student signs a declaration that declares that they understand what their rights and responsibilities are, that you will be collecting information from them, but you will comply with privacy and confidentiality requirements. But here is where they understand what your rights and responsibilities are and what their rights and responsibilities are. We also have on the back of the enrolment form these interview questions. What we find is this covers often a whole heap of other areas where you are determining the suitability of the student prior to course commencement. These questionnaire is something that you can complete to identify what does the student meet your pre-enrollment requirements, and also it's also identifying, are there any LNN concerns or any disabilities that you need to be concerned about? Do they have any concerns that they want to bring up with you prior to commencement as well? So we find this one is very useful for ensuring that the students are suitable for the course that you are enrolling them into. We also have a section down the bottom, it says office use only, so LNN testing required prior to course commencement. So this is something that you can complete to identify whether an LNN test is required. Any reasonable adjustment, so you need to put in there what would be the reasonable adjustment that you need to include, any RPO or credit transfer that can be granted as well. Okay. I just have a question. Okay, all right, so that's the enrolment agreement form. My mouse has decided to go for a wander. Here we go. Just make sure I've got all the documentation I've been through. Oh, we also have an organisational profile in the templates as well that you might be interested in using. What I find this organisational, particularly those who are kickstarts or anybody who's just got started with updating the website perhaps, this organisational profile is good information to put on your website. So I recommend, we've started it off for you here, but I recommend that you use this organisational profile. We use it as a material that you can use that can go out that's marketing your organisation to external people, but you can use it also for prepping for your website. I found it very useful for a lot of people who are prepping for information that needs to go on their website, so they can use this organisational profile template as well. Okay, all right, so that's the websites, the documentation. So we've gone through all of those now. What I want to do next is we're going to have a look at some people have volunteered their websites. So we're going to have a look at these websites now. So one of the ones we've got is Fast College have volunteered their website for me to have a look at. So, and this is a good way for me to have a look and then identify what is it on this website, whether it's compliant or not. And I'm just going to have a quick look at it, and I can generally pick up things straight away. So this is good. We've got the full qualifications. So CIS 40115, Certificate 4 in Sport Rec. So you've used the code and title. So that's really good. That's the way you should be doing it. It should always be code and title. We've got the NRT logo. You could use the AQF logo as well on this page. You don't have to, but you could use the AQF logo on this page as well because you're marketing it with the full qualification. So you could have that there. We've got a full course description here. Got the duration. Let's see if it's going to click through. You need to make sure it's clear what your duration is. When's this commencement date? When's the end date? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be on your website. You could do that if they contacted you and wanted to know more information, you could send that to them in an email. So you could do it that way. But I'd recommend that you have also your start dates and end dates. How many days per week do they need to attend? Let's just keep looking because we might find that a bit further down. Online learning, so you've got online basis there. What the course fee is. You've got a $150 non-refundable fee. Okay, we've got payment plan. So with $1,500, you don't necessarily need to have this progress payment. But I wouldn't expect, so you've got 500, okay, they can do $500 up front, then it will be $500 progress payment, then $250. I'm assuming that's how you set that up. Got the entry requirements, so does not provide the following units, so saying that we don't provide these units and that you'll need to do these separately for you students to complete this qual. They will have to complete these units course with another provider and show evidence of this before they can course complete, see credit transfer. These units are included in the pool. Okay, so I would put in here additionally that the student is required to provide you with a transcript. So this is how you're going to collect the evidence to demonstrate that they're eligible for credit transfer. So you need to put on the website here that the student will be required to provide a transcript. Students will be required to complete written assessments, tasks, and provide evidence of practical tasks at your workplace and upload to Dropbox Moodle. Okay. All courseware and handouts, selection criteria. I put in part of your selection criteria is they must have completed that. So you've got it as an entry requirement, but it's also a selection criteria that they need to provide a transcript with these units on it. So you will be selecting them based on completion of those units. You can provide them with just a statement of attainment of all the other units. So you could state that as well, then you wouldn't be able to use the AQF logo. But you can do one way or the other. All students will be offered RPL. These are the units that you'll be offering. Have you put in there which one's a credit transfer? I don't think so. I think you need to put in there the credit transfer. Where are the entry requirements? So you're not doing HLT AID 003, for example. You need to make sure that's here, that's a credit transfer. So it needs to be on the website. And that applies to all of the other units. Okay, all right. So, yes, duration, I definitely, if you have continuing enrolment, because it's online, put on here the continuing enrolment, and I'd put in a minimum of how many hours per week the student must allocate to this online learning. So it needs to be clear on here. How much time per week should they allocate to their online learning as a minimum, They could do more if they wanted to and complete it quicker, but as a minimum, they must meet these. And this should be in line with your training and assessment strategy, what's within your training and assessment strategy. Okay, all right, so that's a full qual. Now, if we go back to the home page, all right, we've got information on the website. Yep, you've got all, yep, that's all good. Looking for RTO ID here, looking for RTO. Okay, got the RTO ID down in the footer here, and that looks like it's been hyperlinked to TGA, I would assume. Nope, it's hyperlinked back to your website. No, okay, very good. I would recommend that you put a hyperlink here to TGA. So if you're going to hyperlink anything there, I'd hyperlink that back to TGA. You don't have to, it's not a requirement, but if you're going to put a hyperlink in there, you might as well have it go to TGA so that they can verify who you are as an RTO, and have it open in a new screen. Don't have it open in your screen. That's a marketing tip, that one. You don't want to take them too far away from your website. You've got, I can see our docs are on your website. Assessment cover sheet. So you've got an assessment cover sheet. I'd recommend you put this into a student portal where they can access these documents through a student portal, because you're basically giving away our documents to everybody. So you've got a whole range of documents here that should be most probably in a student portal. But they're available. The students are able to access them. I'm assuming the student would have a portal that they would log in to. I would put those forms on there. The only one that you have to have on the website is the complaints and appeals form, but you also need to make sure that your complaints and appeals policy and procedure is also publicly available. So it needs to be on your website. So I would have down here a link to the complaints and appeals policy and procedure. So how do they submit a complaint? You don't just have a form, it's got to be publicly available. So you need to make sure that that's happening in there. Okay, I've got someone saying that her screen keeps saying server interrupted. I'm not sure if that is happening on your screen. It's definitely not happening on my screen. I don't know whether anybody else, is anybody else having any issues? Yeah, okay. It all depends on your internet connection, whether you will have interruptions with the access to the screen. So sometimes it might say interrupted when I'm changing screens. So when I going from the PowerPoint to the screen and showing you a desktop, sometimes it will do it that way. So, but yes, no, we haven't got any other issues. I've also noted this looks like a Microsoft Word document. All of our documents should be on PDF on your website. So this is very interesting to see our documents. So whenever you have any of our documents as a hyperlink, it is a PDF. It says PDF up here, but up here it says Microsoft Word. So I don't know. So you've done the right thing there. Okay, so other than that, the website's good. So very good, fast training. So that's good, fast college. I can't see any other issues. It's quite clear that you've just heard those few extra little things that you need to put on there. Okay. All right, we've got another volunteer. Oh, hold on. While I'm at that, I'm also going to bring up Fast's Facebook page. Let's have a look at your Facebook page. So when I asked for volunteers, I forgot to mention that I will also be looking at your Facebook page. So here's Fast's Facebook page. Now, I've already seen a non-compliance on this one. You haven't got your RTO name in your RTO ID, sorry, in your name. So you need to, I'll give you an example of one that has done it, that is compliant. I'll show you another one. Here is another website. This wasn't a volunteer. This is just me searching some websites. So you'll see here where it's got the RTO name here and the ID, the RTO ID in the name. Now, the reason why you do that is every time you make a post, see here, the name and the ID comes up every time you make a post, and that makes it compliant. Whereas if these guys, you actually haven't used your Facebook page for a while, I've noticed. The last time you had a post was in March 2017. So I'd definitely get on here and update it. You need to update this Facebook page and include your RTO number in the name. So every time you make a post, your RTO number is not going to come up, which will make it non-compliant. Now, where you can find out more about that, ASQA actually made a fact sheet on social media marketing, and one of their requirements was that you need to ensure that your RTO ID is in all of your social media as well, so that it's clear and transparent what you're, sorry, I've got, can my RTO use social media to undertake? Yes, you can. And they actually made a fact sheet on this. And I'll just bring up the fact sheet if I can. No. Sorry, I'm just going to...
I assume I can get through because people call it. That must be a nightmare.
Now, I'm just trying to find where they actually had a fact sheet on social media. So I noticed today, though, I was online today on ASQA website, and there's a few fact sheets that have been taken down, so which I found very interesting. Yeah, it looks like the social media one's been taken off. Okay. Marketing and advertising. Let's see if we've got it on that one. Yeah, here. So I've got a link here to the, and I'll just pop that into the chat box so you can see it. There's a link to the ASQA website that you can go to that has some more information about social media marketing, as well as a range of other marketing. But that's the requirements there, that you need to have your code and title. So the other website that we're going to have a look at is Universal Skills. So they've volunteered as well today. So we're having a look at Universal Skills website. So this is their website here. I had a quick squiz at these this morning. But one of the major non-compliances that I saw straight away is the NRT logo is in the footer of the website. So So Universal, you need to update this website as soon as possible and remove the NRT logo from the footer. You cannot use the NRT logo or the AQF logo in the footer of any of your websites. You can put it on with the code and title. This is correct. All of these are correct. We've got code and title for all of these. This is brilliant. We've got code and title. You can put the NRT logo here. So you can have it on the same page as your marketing, but you can't have it in the footer of your marketing, because what happens is that ends up on every single page, and your About Us page is not an NRT nationally recognised training. So it needs to be next to the code and title. This is the requirements of the NRT logo. It can only be used next to the code and title of the training product that you are using. So I'd remove that as soon as possible. Now on this one, we've got, so we work safely at Heights. We've got the code and title. We've got pricing starts at. I'd make sure that this is actually the actual price needs to be on here. If you have a variety of different prices, you need to put what the variety is and make that clear and transparent. What your prereqs are, so good verbal and written comprehension of the English language, photo ID. So you might want to identify what type of photo ID you accept. So driver's license, state regulatory photo license or ID, passport, things like that. Duration of course duration for training and assessment is 1 day. So you need to put how many hours is the course duration. That needs to be in there. And what are your typical start and end times? Training location, face-to-face delivery, on-site training assessment. So you need to identify, well, where are your sites that you're going to be delivering this? I don't know whether you've got any online enrolments here, so it doesn't look like you can. It might be that you provide that location with the course information prior to course commencement, so it might be information that you send out to them, but it needs to be clear what you're sending out to them, where they're going, where they're going to be doing the training. It also doesn't look very good when you just have face-to-face and on-site training assessment. You need to have all your locations of where you're delivering your training, because that's not very good marketing strategy. That you'd get people who go, I don't know where it's going to be, so I won't book because I don't know where it's going to be. I definitely have online enrolments for short courses like this. I don't know whether you have on the page. No, you haven't. It is such an easy, quick way of getting enrolments, and you can get them overnight. It's ways of making money without actually being at work. So I would make that's as a strategy. It's not a requirement, but as a strategy, I'd get your website up, and so it's online enrolments. I've got LNN. You will need to complete a short literacy. Yep. Okay. I've got LNN in there. Certification. All participants that successfully complete the course, and I would put in here, and are deemed competent. So it doesn't matter whether you successfully complete, because that could be misinterpreted as I attended the day. So it needs to be successfully competent in the unit of competency will be issued with a statement of attainment. This unit of competency is nationally recognised. So you can put that on there. You can put it as nationally recognised training. But I would definitely put here only students who are successfully meet the competency requirements will receive a certificate. Now you've got certification twice, so you've got RPL in here as well. Does RPL apply when you're doing this single unit of competency? And is there licensing requirements here? I don't know whether RPL applies to this one. So you've got to be really careful when you're doing RPL, and whether because I'm thinking work safely at Heights, you're actually not allowed to do RPL. Would that be right, Amanda? Yeah, Amanda agrees with me. So yeah, I wouldn't put RPL on that page. So yeah, so that's that page. So we've got some forms and documents here. Okay, so you've got your documents here. Oh, they don't look like, okay, you need to get in contact with admin at University Skills to download those. Once again, you need to make sure your complaints and appeals policy and procedure is publicly available. I can't see that on here anywhere. I can't click on this link here. That doesn't take me anywhere. So you need to make sure it's publicly available. And it's very easy for them to access your complaints and appeals. You don't have to have a website. So I've got someone state, do we have to have a website? Although I'd highly recommend it. It's the best way for marketing these days. Some people are able to get by with word of mouth. It's not a requirement. It's where majority of people make non-compliances, though, is on their website. So that's why we check out the website. But it's not a requirement. You don't have to have a website. It's just looking at all of your information that you give to the student prior to course commencement, making sure it complies with that checklist that I provided you. Okay, we're going to have another look at another Facebook page. So here's a Facebook page. They've used the name, they've got the code and title, they've got their, so this is an issue here. You can't have the NRT logo sitting on your, so that's just sitting in there. I don't know how they've done that. They've provided a hyperlink to their website and the NRT logo sitting in there. There shouldn't be the NRT logo sitting in your social media. So you need to get rid of that. So make sure that your website, your Facebook page or any social media doesn't have any reference to NRT logos or AQF logos on there. Okay, let me see if there's anything else on there. Seems to be okay. Just seeing what advertising they're doing for API. Okay, that's looking okay. And we've got one more. This one looks quite good. So, oh yes, I did notice on here. So this, once again, another RTO that hasn't put their RTO ID in their name. Now, the thing is, if you don't put it in the name, you've then got to put it in all of your posts. So you've got to put your RTO number in every single post, and they haven't got the RTO number in the post. Because you've got to remember, when people are looking at this on Facebook, they're not going to your page. It's popping up in their feed. So you need to make sure when it pops up in their feed, it has your RTO ID number on it as well. So you need to make sure that you put the RTO ID in the name. So if you haven't done so already, jump onto your Facebook pages and any other social media that you may have and pop in the RTO ID into the name. And that's the best way. Otherwise, you've got to post it every single time. You've got to put your RTO ID in every single post. Okay, so that's social media and websites. Any questions about social media and websites? And I'm going to try and get back to my page here. And we'll get back to our PowerPoint. Okay, we've got no questions. Excellent. So hopefully you're jumping on your social media now and your websites. Download that marketing checklist and use that marketing checklist to check your website and make sure that your marketing is actually compliant. The top non-compliances that I see on websites and marketing material is inappropriate use of NRT logo and AQF logo, not using code and title when you're marketing the courses, people putting the full qualification on and not listing all of the units of competency, not putting the location in there, not being clear and transparent about the fees, people using logos of other companies on their websites. Every time you use a logo from someone else's company, you need to make sure that you have a written agreement with that organisation to use that logo. Now, they have no problems with you using logos for testimonials or if you've got logos of companies that you're partnered with, but you need to have a written agreement with them that you can use their logo. I won't say often, I have seen people use the VELG logo, which you're allowed to use if you're a VELG member. You can do that and you get a written agreement with it. But I've also seen the ASQA logo on the website. No. You can't use the ASQA logo in anything whatsoever. You cannot use any government website or government logo in any marketing for anything unless you specifically have an agreement with them. For example, if you're doing government funding. And generally they'll have a different logo for you to use if you're using if you have access to government funding. So they're very specific around those logos that you can use on your websites. So you need to be very careful with those. We also, another document that we have is an organisational profile. You can use this for the profile of your organisation. We have this in your templates within the documents, so you can access that as well. And this is what I was saying you can use as getting ready to build your website. So it's lots of information in there that is very useful for marketing your organisation. It's a good tool for applying for government funding, or if you are looking at third-party agreements with other organisations, you can also use that as part of your marketing, as part of your proposal as well. So you can use the organisation profile. So I recommend you check that out. So there's some more information about websites. We've done a big review of websites now. So I'd like to thank you to FAST College and Universal Skills for volunteering to have their websites reviewed today. Thank you very much. Can be quite scary to have your website reviewed in one of these sessions, but thank you for being brave. The thing is now I've had a good look at it. I've got a question. If we have Instagram for our RTO, we need to add ID? Yes. So any social media, Instagram, Twitter, if you have a Twitter handle, you should put the RTO ID in there as well. Anywhere where you're going to be marketing anything for your organisation, you need to have your RTO ID in there as well. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So there's a range of different social media where you can do that. So good question. Do we need to get a sign-off from students to post photos on social media? Yes, for sure. If you intend to use any of your trainers' photos, photos of your classrooms, you need to get an agreement from those students that you can use their photo on your social media marketing. Most students are fine. There are some students, you may have a student who is under witness protection, or they have an issue with social media. They don't want their face in social media, especially when you've got things like Facebook who are face matching. So they're able to identify your face and actually put your name to the photo. You want to make sure that they're happy with you putting their face on. What I often do is do backs of heads. So I'll take photos of the back of the room, backs of heads, so it's not identifiable who the person is. But you, by all means, you can post photos of students as long as you get an agreement with them as well. So there are strict conditions on the use of the AQF and the NRT logo. So you need to be very careful with how you use these. You should never, ever, ever use these logos for non-accredited training, and it needs to be clear what is accredited and what is not accredited, and you should never use it in the footer of your website, ever, because it's then looking like everything on your website is nationally recognised. It can only be used next to the code and title. These are the actual logos. You can't change these logos, you can't squish them, you can't stretch them, can't change the colour, you can't make them look pretty in your logo colours. You can use them in black and grayscale, but you can't change any of the other colours. You can't change from the red and green. I've seen people do the AQF logo and the NR2 logo in gold emboss on their certificates. You can't do that. You can't change it into any other colour, black, grayscale, or colour, these colours, and it's very specific what those colours are. So what if we do the training at their premises, we do forklift training at our clients' sites? Do we need permission from the company or the individual to post a photo? Yes, you do. If you're using the someone else's premises, you need to make sure that you've got permission from them as well. Anywhere where you're using anybody's logos or photos of people, you need to get permission. So you need to make sure you're doing that. Okay, so standard 5.1 and 5.2 is informing your students to protect them prior to course commencement. This is where I recommend you use the enrolment agreement form, because the enrolment agreement form has all of that detail on there. So you need to make sure that you're using the enrolment agreement form that informs the students of their rights and responsibilities. In the Q&C manual, we'll see how we meet these standards. So we've got a whole range of marketing material that meets every single requirement within the standards. So if you change anything, you need to check this. So this is under standard 4.1 in the Q&C manual. You'll see how our marketing maps to the requirements of the clause 4.1. So if you make any changes to any of these, you need to make sure that you've got it covered off in other marketing materials. The RTO is responsible for ensuring that they recruit and select students who have the required skills and knowledge and to complete the course, that they will meet the entry requirements, that you collect sufficient evidence that demonstrates that they will meet all the requirements and that they are suitable for completing that course, ensuring that the student is informed of all fees upfront, including reassessment and certificate reissue fees. We have a support services process, so look into the Q&C manual under 1.7, and in there it identifies what the process is for ensuring that students are getting support throughout their training. So we cover this more off in standard 1.7, but I just thought I'd do a quick snapshot of that because it also relates to your marketing and the information you're providing to the students prior to course commencement. So we've looked at a lot of these materials today. I want you to have a look at your course flyers, your enrolment agreement form, your website, and any social media that you have, and use that marketing checklist to check that it actually meets all the requirements of their clauses. And this is the enrolment agreement form and all the clauses that we comply with there. You need to ensure that every single student is completing an enrolment form and that you enter the details from that enrolment form into your student database. For CRICOS, anybody who's got CRICOS as well, you'll have a student prospectus that you also need to look at. Any written agreements that you have or letters of offer that you provide to the student prior to course commencement also needs to comply with all of this. And on your website, you cannot promote that you are a CRICOS provider if you have not yet been approved. This includes for initial registration as an RTO. You can't promote that you're going to be an RTO because you can't guarantee it until you become an RTO and you have that registration or CRICOS. You cannot promote that you are or will be an RTO or CRICOS provider, and you need to ensure that you check your International Student Handbook as well, and that handbook includes information that you provide to the student prior to course commencement as well. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar. I've gone a little bit over time. The next webinar is on Monday, the 5th of November at 3 p.m. I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar, and I can't remember what we're doing. What are we doing? We are next month. We are doing complaints and appeals. That's very interesting, considering what we've just started today. Now, on Unicorn, you'll also find this poster. So this is the continuous improvement cycle poster. I recommend you download it, laminate it, and put it on your wall next to wherever you're working, because this has every single clause that you are going to be reviewing on a monthly basis. So I recommend that you download that, print it, and put it up on your wall. All of us have them here on our walls at the office. Okay, I got a few thank yous. Can we have the presentation copy and the marketing checklist? So this presentation has been recorded today, and everyone will get access to a recording of this webinar. So yes, you'll all get access to a recording of the webinar. Also, the marketing checklist you can download from Unicorn. So you just log into Unicorn and you'll find all of the documents that we reviewed today are on Unicorn. So you just need to go onto Unicorn and download it from there. Once again, if you have bronze membership, which is only professional development membership, you won't have access to all of the documentation. But silver, gold, ruby, diamond, and platinum, they all include all of the documentation. So you can access all of that documentation through Unicorn. And thank you very much. I look forward to catching up with you next month. Have a great month. We're almost close to Christmas. So, yeah, almost the end of the year. So lots of work to do before the end of the year. Thank you very much for attending today, and I look forward to catching up with you next month. Bye. Oh, my goodness.